goodness. Oh, it's horrible. Sort that out, guys. Okay, I wonder what that's gonna. Okay. Should be better. Shut up, Jess. Hey guys, so I thought we should probably talk about Threadripper. I've got the headphones on. I'm just checking the volume. So yeah, we're going to talk about Threadripper. I'm just going to mute this, guys. You'd have to be pretty much dead not to realize that some of the embargoes around Threadripper have lifted. And obviously we know we're getting 1950X, 1920X, and a 1900X. So 1950X, full 16 threads, 32 cores, 1920X, 12 threads, 24 cores, 1900X. I think it's 10 cores, 20 threads. I don't really want to talk about pricing and things like that, although briefly to cover it, you basically get your 16 cores, 32 threads for about $1,000 or £1,000, which is incredible value compared to what Intel are offering. And 1920X I think is around $725/pounds. I'm not sure they've given us solid pricing on the lowest tier Threadripper chip. But I'm not going to talk really, that's all I'm going to say about pricing, guys, and I'm not going to talk about Threadripper versus Intel, because really I don't think it's not useful, because until people like Anantech or Paul's Hardware, Jay's 2 Cents, whoever, until they do testing and get back to me or get back to the tech community in general with numbers, you've got to take what AMD say with a pinch of salt. But it's looking very, very good from their latest press conference, where they invited people along and they were pretty honest compared to usual. They showed where they beat Intel. They also showed where they lost to Intel, which is quite unusual for a company to do. So I don't have time to pre-record something, guys. So again, sorry about the live streaming. It's just easier for me at the moment. I'm very busy with other things. But I mean, really all this video would have been is my thoughts on Ryzen and Threadripper, sorry, specifically, and why I'm not going to buy one, and why I think it's a very niche product, but I also think it's amazing that AMD are bringing this level of computing power to the masses, essentially. So let's get straight down to brass tacks. So this is an Antec going through their kind of media case, if you like. So this media case, this lovely Pelican case, got delivered to quite a few people in the tech community, and you got your 1950X, your 1920X, and then you got this rather cool kind of dummy Threadripper CPU that's embossed with your channel's name or your media outlet's name, which is cool. I quite like that. The packaging, this is the actual retail packaging, is so much better than anything Intel offers at the moment. And I know what you're going to say, it's a box, who cares, it's a box. I agree, it is a box, but it's kind of cool, it kind of jumps out of you from the shelf. Considering this 1950X is £1,000, I quite like the fact it comes in a nice box compared to Intel's little kind of, I think, black cardboard box, a tiny black cardboard box at that. So yeah, cool. Kudos AMD. They seem to be getting everything right at the moment. And there you go, there's a better view of it. There we go. Pretty cool. I mean, that's really nice packaging, guys. So let's go back. And then this is them just unboxing it. So one of the main differences you're going to see with Threadripper physically is the way it comes packaged. So this little orange sled is actually part of how you mount the CPU into the TR4 socket. Again, everyone's quite excited about this, but I don't really get why. Like, they're also excited about the fact that Threadripper is LGA rather than PGA. And I suppose a lot of people, like Jay's 2 Cents, people like that, Paul's Hardware, and Antec to a certain degree, they only cover consumer grade components. Whereas if you're like me and you've worked in the kind of enterprise part of the industry, like I worked for a large communications company for a number of years, and I worked on Outlook servers, SQL servers, things like that. And yeah, AMD have been making LGA chips for a very, very long time, but mainly in the server space. And they've also come on these little slides before, Intel and AMD. But that's really cool. I like that. And that's the bottom of it there. That's amazing. It's basically two 8-core CPUs fused together. Nothing wrong with that. Their interconnect seems to be working absolutely fine from what I'm finding with my Ryzen machine. But it is a beast. It also requires a Torx screwdriver to fit it, which comes with it, which is set to the correct torque. And you'll see why in a minute. So if we skip down, that's just a water cooling bracket that should fit most Asetek pump heads. So pretty much if you've got an AIO, it'll probably fit that. For instance, I think that would fit my Arctic AIO. There's two chips. They're absolutely huge. And that's the socket in there, guys. So that's what I mean. So to fit it, you unscrew these three Torx screws, 3, 2, 1, to open it. Then the actual clasp lifts up on a spring, and then that sled slides in. This then gets pushed down on top of it, and then you close it by screwing down 1, 2, 3 to the correct torque. So yeah, and Antec have been doing some testing basically. And this is the kind of stuff I'm more interested in, guys. So these are the 3 CPUs here. Okay. Oh, they have got, so sorry, the lower tier chip, which is 8 cores, 16 threads. Sorry, I thought it was 10. It's 8 cores, 16 threads. It's $549. Why would I buy that, you say, over a Ryzen 1800X? Because you're getting 60 PCIe lanes. So, pluses about Threadripper so far is that as you come down the stack, all you seem to be losing is core count, which I think is fine because you're not losing base and turbo speed. You're not losing cache. I'm fairly sure they've actually said that the cache will be 32 megs on the TR1900X, which would make sense because they're probably going to use 4 compute complexes on each side of the dual CPU. They'd have to. I don't see why they would have such a large CPU footprint and fuse off an entire side. I don't know if that would work in the way the socket's arranged. It might work, I'm not sure. I don't know that much about the TR4 socket. So yeah, so you're not really losing anything other than physical core count, which is kind of what I would expect. You're not losing PCIe lanes. They all come with 60 lanes, which is amazing. Again, if you're buying one of these machines, you should not be buying a 12 or a 16 core CPU to play games, basically. And if you are, then you're probably an enthusiast and you've got the money. But it's pretty much why I'm not going to be buying one of these guys. I don't. I could probably justify the 1950X from the point of I'm an enthusiast and I love technology. I'm probably a little bit from workflow. I need to start getting back into editing videos again for you guys and start recording stuff again. There are other things I do as well. Like I do a lot of virtualization. I'm going to be starting studying again soon, so it would come in handy for that, for project work and things, and just trying different architectural things out. But would I spend $1,000, which I would assume is going to be £1,000 on a CPU? No, I wouldn't. And that's the honest answer. Not that I don't think it's going to be good, that it is going to offer immense value at the price point, because it's going to support quad channel RAM as well, which is great, which is something I think Ryzen 7 was lacking, and AMD were lacking a quad channel platform. I think it does make a difference in certain applications. But yeah, I just cannot justify $1,000. And I think that's the only problem I can see with this product. I mean, would I even pay $799 for the 12 core? Would I even buy a 12 core CPU? Probably not. I might plumb for an 8 core 16 thread CPU. When I ran my dual Xeon rig, that's what I had. 8 cores and 16 threads spread across 2 CPUs, 2 sockets. I don't know. It's really up to the individual who's going to buy this, but I think looking at the price points here and looking at what, and I know I said I wasn't going to talk about Intel much and price, but looking at those two things, so price point and what Intel offers at that price point, I think AMD are onto a winner, purely from the point of view that Threadripper, although everyone thinks it's new and it's great and it's got a new socket, it's Ryzen architecture. So you would expect that when these X399 boards launch, that a lot of the BIOS issues and things like that, the memory compatibility, PCIe compatibility, pass-through compatibility issues, they've all been solved like months ago with the launch of Ryzen 3, 5, and 7. So really, if I was going to go and buy a 1950X, I would expect that on day one unboxing it, I could plug in my CPU, update my BIOS if it was required, plug in whatever RAM I want, overclock that RAM, probably overclock the CPU, and it should work. Shouldn't be a problem. It should just work. And that's a massive, massive advantage now. That's a massive thing for them, and that they're going to release this, and there shouldn't really be any teething troubles, whereas Intel are still going to have to go through that teething process when they release their X299 CPUs, which should be dropping fairly soon. And they always do. It's always the same. I am running a Broadwell eCPU, so I know what it's like when, even on X99, when X99 had been a platform for a while, when Broadwell E came out and I got my one, there were still issues. I was updating my BIOS up until, and the last BIOS I made was February this year, and it did bring some stability improvements. So I think AMD are in a pretty good place. I don't know what you guys think. I don't know if this chip is for anyone in my audience, but this is one of the few things I'm actually excited about. The only things I've been excited about this year, technology-wise, have been coming from AMD. With Ryzen, now Threadripper. Vega looks very good, or Vega RX looks very good. It looks about where I thought it would be, which is kind of trading blows with the GTX 1080. I never thought Vega was going to come out as a kind of, you got to remember, this is like a revision 1 technology. I didn't think it was going to come out and suddenly blow NVIDIA out of the water. But what I did think was, if it could come out and at least be there or thereabouts, that's where they need to be for next year and the next generation. And I feel that about Ryzen, the Ryzen architecture, whether you're talking about Ryzen 357 or Threadripper, in that if you look at this from the point of view as a first generation iteration of this technology, it's amazing what AMD have done. It's really, really good. They brought choice back. It's great. And I'm very excited for what they're going to do next generation down the line, because it looks like they're not getting greedy. They're making a profit, certainly. I mean, if they're selling this CPU, this Ryzen 1950X for $1,000, you can guarantee they're probably manufacturing and shipping, etc., for around 300 to 400. So a good chunk of that is just profit to them. But fair enough. That's fine. Certain other companies have been price gouging the IT and the enthusiast community, gaming community, whatever you want to call them, for a very, very long time, and they've got to make money. The reality is, right, AMD have to make money if they want to continue to develop, and I think it would be a crazy thing for them now to stop investing in R&D, considering what they've done with these product launches this year. you know, the reality is for me that my experience using my Broadwell E, my 6800K overclocked to 4.5 gigahertz, and using my R5 1600 overclocked to 3.95 stable now, is that it's the same experience. Really, I mean, the Broadwell machine will do things slightly faster because it's got a higher frequency. But the reality is, if I had to wait those extra sort of 20 seconds in a video render or something, it wouldn't affect my life hugely. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is, like, AMD have brought so much value that I could probably sell if I wasn't attached to my Intel machine and the case and everything. And the fact that it's handy for me to have two machines if I'm doing something on one, like if I'm doing an overclocking tutorial, I need to get into the BIOS, etc. It's really handy to have another machine to use as a streaming slave. I could sell the Intel machine and probably make my money back or more that it cost me to build the Ryzen rig, which is crazy really when you think about it. You know, this thing cost me nothing to build the Ryzen machine in the grand scheme of things. It was like, for the CPU, motherboard, memory, it was like £400 or something like that. It was ridiculously cheap. Whereas for the X99 board, the CPU and the memory for my Broadwell E machine, it was 800 and something. And the difference in purchase time between these is like 4 months. So that's all I'm saying, is that AMD, you're doing the right thing. So guys, hey, someone's watching. So I don't know what you think about that. That's really my thoughts on Threadripper. I'm not really going to talk much more about it because, as I said at the start, I'm not going to talk about rumors, etc., etc. The only reason I did this video is because obviously the embargo's lifted and there's more information coming out, and AMD are being more open, and so I thought, you know what, let's address it. I'm interested in this. Let's do a little live stream. Let's talk about it. So if you guys got any questions, just fire them in the chat just now. If not, I am going to get on out of here, guys, and let you get on with your evening, and I'm going to get on with my evening because I've still got one more day of work to go tomorrow. But then it is the weekend, thank God. Yeah, so guys, any questions? What do you think about Threadripper? Where do you think it's going to sit? What do you think it's going to do? Try and keep it as non-fanboy as possible, if you can. It's hard for me because I'm really loving what AMD have done this year, and you know, I'm not really seeing any competition from anywhere else. So drop them in drop a comment in. I read the comments when I get a chance. I do read through the comments. It's just been super my life's been super kind of busy this year. If you've been following the channel, you know what happened at the start of the year, and then decision to start studying again. Now work is just going nuts. It's really, really busy at work. So yeah, I don't know, but that's really it, guys. So there's no questions in the chat, so I am gonna keep it I'm gonna keep it real, and I'm gonna take a shoot out of here. And thanks for tuning in, and thanks for supporting the channel, guys. Catch you later.